Holy Gospel according to John. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Our Gospel reading today shows us Jesus' first sign in the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John doesn't include a birth story for Jesus. There's no Christmas narrative here. There's no brave Mary choosing to mother the Son of God. This banquet is our first time encountering Mary. And she seems to be in the know about things that even Jesus doesn't know yet. She tells Jesus that the wine has run out. And then she ignores what her son has to say about it, telling the servants to just do what Jesus says. I wonder what she could see at that moment that Jesus could not. Just this week, while I was worried about my own future and feeling a bit unsure of what my plans should be, I called my mother. And just like Mary did in our gospel, she knew exactly what to say to set my mind at ease. She said, "You're planning too far ahead. You're getting overwhelmed. Just trust that God will show you the best path for you when the time comes." People who take on the mothering role in our lives are often the first to encourage us to step into this new phase of life, to take a new step in a different direction. But I wonder why Mary chose that particular moment to push Jesus. Wine at a banquet. Jesus has the power to heal the sick and open the eyes of the blind. Why was it so important that Jesus' first sign be this one? Jesus seemed to think that this problem was trivial as well. He refers to his death and resurrection when he mentions that his time has not yet come. There are more important things on his mind, things with eternal ramifications, and his mom has him creating more wine for a banquet. Why did this need to be his first sign? This act is specifically referred to as a sign, not a miracle, a sign. And signs point towards something. They show us what lies ahead. So what is this sign pointing to? What is it saying about who Jesus will be? During that time, having enough wine at a wedding banquet meant more than just good planning. It signified the host's wealth and generosity, and Jesus had provided an abundance of it. Free of charge, the best wine served all night, and Jesus had provided up to 180 gallons of it. Wine is the lifeblood of a banquet. When wine runs out, the party ends. But because of Jesus, the joy of the wedding banquet continues. Jesus had come to bring abundant life. This sign calls us to live into the abundant life that Jesus has already given us. God's grace overflows so that the whole world can be invited to the banquet, and the wine will never run out. Jesus' very human interaction with his mom is also included in the story. And there's a reason for that, I think. Jesus' first act shows care for even our trivial human needs and desires. Jesus is just as human as he is divine, and it seems like his mother is reminding him of this, that it is just as important for him to live his daily life as it is for him to prepare for the future. This sign shows us how close God is, how even our smallest problems are problems that God is willing to walk through with us. Even our most mundane moments are moments when God is willing to connect with us. In between life's big changes and shifts, Jesus is still offering us God's grace, God's presence, and the joy of life. The presence of servants in this gospel is another aspect that I think should not be overlooked. The first sign that Jesus does actually requires the servant's participation. The people in the lowest social position in the banquet are the ones who witnessed Jesus' first sign. The person in charge of the banquet, even the bridegroom, had no idea where this new wine came from. But the servants knew. And it was these servants, these lowly, everyday people, who would have shared the news amongst themselves. They are the first to receive the great hope for the future. They are the first to participate in Jesus' ministry. Jesus, the God of the oppressed, brings new life to the least of these. Jesus places the lowly in a position of high esteem as the very messengers of hope. Jesus sees their struggles and brings them hope for freedom, equality, and justice. This first sign leaves us with an image of Jesus that today we know to be accurate. Jesus, the bringer of new life and grace freely given. Jesus, God truly with us in our humanity. And Jesus, the God of the oppressed. This image of Jesus should call us to act. Our need for grace and new life is met daily. Our need for a holy companion is met daily. So our care for the oppressed ought to be expressed daily, right? We may not make as big of an impact as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but just as my mother told me, just as Mary told Jesus, and I'm sure just as the Reverend Doctor's mother told him, be open to whatever God is calling you to. Even if it seems as inconsequential as wine at a banquet, go and do it, and trust that God is already at work through it. Amen.